Hi, everybody. We hope you're doing well. We continue to pray for you and to trust God and see what His plans are for us, especially during this time of election confusion, of global pandemics, and all the other personal things that we have going on, as well as all the other global problems that often don't get talked about. And we hope and believe that in the middle of all of these trials and difficulties and struggles, that we can see God and that other people can see God as well, and that we can know God better. That He doesn't change, even though the state of our world could drastically change. We're going to keep looking at some of the names of Jesus, the seventh I am statement. If you remember that link of I am to Yahweh, of being God. And then Jesus giving us illustrations and pictures or images of exactly who He is. But He made it clear that He was, that He is the Messiah. I don't know how much you do gardening. I'm not a big gardener, but I did get into a phase of gardening when I was a kid. And during that time, it was sort of funny because I grew pumpkins. And so pumpkins had these long vines, and I tried to take good care of them. I protected them. They continued to grow. I tried to time it so that I could have a pumpkin for Halloween, and just grew them in my backyard, sort of on the edge of the grass. And one of my friends said, how's your pumpkins going? And I said, they're great. There's all these big yellow flowers. And then they said, oh, the way that you get a pumpkin. I said, oh yeah, I remember I told him, I said, I don't know if the yellow flowers are going to become pumpkins. And he says, oh, the way that you get the pumpkin is you pinch off all the yellow flowers. Those are the girl flowers and the boy flowers of the pumpkins. And, I mean, we were so young back then. I have no idea if he was even accurate or not. But I trusted him. And so I went back to my house after school that day, and I very diligently pinched off every single thing that had a flower on it. And the vine was fine, and the vine kept growing. But I got no pumpkins that year. And I remember I asked my mom and dad at one point, I'm like, why am I not getting any pumpkins at all? And they said, well, where did all the flowers go? And I explained the science behind it. You got to pinch off the yellow flowers. And now once you pinch all those off, then the boy flower comes, and that's the pumpkin. I don't even know. And they looked at me and just started laughing and said, son, you probably picked off some pumpkins there. And I was devastated because I worked so hard. Like, that was my dream, was to grow my own pumpkin and to put that pumpkin out on our front porch, even if it wasn't a good pumpkin, even if it wasn't a big pumpkin, at least just something, and say, I made that. But I severed it from the main vine, and as soon as I severed those flowers, and looking back, I realized I did snip off some potential pumpkins as well. They died. And as soon as you get cut off from the source of the vine, there's no nutrition, right, for you. There's no way to stay alive. It's almost as if you're in those moments of life where people need oxygen to stay alive, or where they need some type of medical device to keep them alive. And as soon as you pull the plug on that device, if they are not able to sustain life on their own, they will die because they're cut off from the thing that was keeping them alive. And Jesus begins to give us another picture of who He is and really what life in Him should be like if we keep these types of things in mind. In John chapter 15, He talks about this gardening or growing or farming example. But back then, especially, people would be even more familiar with it because it was a more rural community, a more rural culture. And I'm going to read out of John chapter 15. Jesus said this, I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. Yes, I'm the vine, and you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. What's really interesting is that Jesus incorporates God in this process. That Jesus says He's the vine, and that we're the branches, but that God is the gardener. So what's really interesting, as I learned a little bit more about gardening, I did realize there are branches that you should cut off, right? Because every smaller branch that's connected to the main branch or the main root or the trunk, they are going to take some nutrients. They're going to take some of the life out of the roots and out of the tree. And if they're not going to produce any fruit, and your goal is to produce fruit, let's say with an apple tree or with some type of fruit-bearing tree, if there's a big branch and it's not doing anything, it's better to cut that off so that the life can go to the better branch that will produce fruit. And so the person who is in this process as well, when Jesus introduces us to this name of saying, I am Yahweh, the true vine, and you are the branches. But keep in mind this, God's the gardener. God is the one who comes along and decides which yellow flowers get pinched off because they're detrimental to our lives. So it's not that we're being punished and we lose things that we actually want to have. It is so that more life will get funneled to the right things, and that life will not be sucked away to the wrong things. That really what Jesus wants is for our life to be fruitful, for our life to be meaningful. But so often we are pulled in so many different ways, so many different branches, and some of those will take life. I mean, you probably have multiple roles that you play. Maybe you are a student, maybe you are a worker, maybe you're a son, maybe you're a daughter, maybe you're a boyfriend or girlfriend, maybe you're a fiance, maybe you're a husband, maybe you're a wife, maybe you're a grandfather, maybe you're a grandmother, maybe you have multiple jobs depending upon the day, maybe you volunteer in certain places. And I am sure that some of those take more life out of you, take more energy, take more focus than others. I mean, I work at a church. We help run nonprofit housing. I'm a soccer coach, and I'm a volunteer police chaplain. I mean, those are the 4 jobs that I have, along with other personal things that I'm a part of. Now, they definitely take priority. Some are higher than others. And so I can't give a lot of energy to some of them because of how much I give to the others. But if I was to cut one out, if I was just to take one of those out, I would automatically have more time and more energy for the other ones. And Jesus looks down and he says, I'm the vine and you're the branches. But guess what? God will come by and he will prune off things in our lives that are not giving us life, that are not helping us to be fruitful, not helping us to have a productive life. And we have to trust him in that process. And sometimes it is not enjoyable, right, to get pruned, right? It's not enjoyable to cut something out of our lives sometimes. Sometimes it takes work. It takes discipline. It takes perseverance. But some things do need to be cut out of our lives. I mean, just imagine how much healthier every American would be if we were able to cut out sugar from our lives. Now, sugar tastes good. I love desserts. I love donuts, right? I love donuts. There's so many desserts that I love to have with coffee. But I know for sure, if I was to be able to cut out sugar, food would actually taste better. My life would be healthier. I have a friend who works with us sometimes, and he's been smoking most of his life. And he showed up one day, and he wasn't smoking when he was working. And I looked at him, and I said, "You're not smoking." And he said, "I have been smoking forever, and now I finally quit. And you know what? I can taste things now." So what do you mean? He said, "I didn't realize how good things tasted." He said, "Do you know how incredible a banana tastes? A banana tastes so incredible." Now for me, bananas weren't anything that special, but at the same time, I'd been tasting them my whole life. But for him, he'd gone decades and decades without tasting something, and shaving off something out of his life that wasn't bringing him to a healthier life allowed him to enjoy things that would bring him to a healthier life. And Jesus says the way to experience true life, the way to experience a meaningful life, the way to experience a fruitful life is to stay connected to him and to allow God to prune away the parts of our lives that take energy out of following Jesus. What's interesting is right in between Jesus saying twice that he is the vine and we are the branches, he explains a little bit more of this illustration. I want to read it for you. Jesus says, "God cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit. He prunes the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more. You've already been pruned and purified with the message that I have given you. So remain in me and I will remain in you. because a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine. You cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. The way to experience true life is to remain in God. Keep in mind, your life is full of many branches. You are not just one branch. So that when we look at this image, it is not whether you stay connected to Jesus or you're completely cut off from Jesus and you're done and you will wither and die. It's that our life has multiple branches, multiple things in our lives that pull us in many different directions and take energy. And some are going to be fruitful. Some are going to bring us to health. Others will not. And the two questions of this passage and this name of Jesus saying, I'm the vine and you are the branches, is twofold. One, will we allow God to prune away the things that hold us captive to a life that is not healthy and a life that is not fruitful? That process is not easy, but it's good. And we need to step back and look at God and look at his ways and look at his word and let him speak into our hearts and let him begin to prune away things that are keeping us from a healthier life. And the second is that the more connected we stay to Jesus, the closer we stay to Jesus, the more we will experience life, the more we will have a meaningful and a fruitful life. Because remember, Jesus said, I am the vine and you are the branches. If you stay connected to me, I will stay connected to you, and it will produce a life much greater than you could ever produce on your own. God bless.